This is CBN Newswatch.
It is Monday, January 27th. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ephraim Graham. We begin this half hour with shock in the sports world at the untimely death of NBA superstar Kobe Bryant. He died Sunday. Bryant, his 13-year-old daughter Gianna, and 7 others died in a helicopter crash near Los Angeles. Thousands of fans gathered outside the LA Staples Center, where Bryant played for the Lakers his entire 20-year career.
One thing that I really noticed is for the amount of people that are out here, it's silent. Everybody's in grief, everybody's mourning, everybody has respect for this man and his family and his daughter. It's painful. We really lost somebody legendary today.
Kobe Bryant, known for his fiery competitiveness, went straight to the Los Angeles Lakers from high school at just 18 years old. He won 5 NBA championships, 2 Olympic gold medals, and was an 18-time All-Star. Bryant is 3rd on the list of all-time NBA scorers, surpassed by LeBron James the very night before he died. James spoke about Kobe's influence on his life as a young man.
I remember one thing that he said. He was like, if you want to try to be, great at it or want to be one of the greats, you got to put the work in. There's no substitution to work. And I was a 15-year-old kid at that camp.
Kobe Bryant had difficulties in his personal life, facing a sexual assault charge that was later dismissed in a settlement with the accuser. He said that incident and struggles in his marriage led him to turn to his Catholic faith for strength and guidance. He reportedly attended Mass weekly, including the morning of the accident that took his life. He also founded a foundation to help homeless young people. Sports director Sean Brown joins us now. He is covering the Super Bowl and joins us now to talk more about the life and death of Kobe Bryant. Sean, you're actually in Miami for the Super Bowl, but I'm sure Kobe's death is, of course, the subject of a lot of conversation there.
Yeah, I tell you, man, we arrived here in Miami, just a regular day like anyone else, man. And then all of a sudden we get news flashes from TMZ. And it was like, a ripple effect. People start looking at their phones, and we didn't take it seriously. It was like, is this legit? Is this real? And it took a moment. It took a while for people because slowly but surely other news networks started reporting the news. And the shock, we were in disbelief, and the tweeting started. Hey, is this real? This can't be real. This can't be right. And as the day progressed, it started to sink in that this news is real. We lost a lot of family members. Obviously, Kobe and his daughter. Just tragic. For me. And the people that I was with, it just rocked us, man. It's rocked the sports world. It's rocked America. It's rocked the world because of his influence, obviously on the basketball court. But right now, at this stage of his life, it was like he was getting ready to start he was already starting to show us more of who he was off the court. And it was beautiful. And I think that's, the fact that he was there, he was with his daughter, Gianna. I think all of that just kind of flooded everyone. And it's like, man, we were getting to see another side that we hadn't seen. And it was just beautiful, man. So it just rocked us all to our core, man. It is such a tragic, it's just a tragedy.
Yeah.
I'm still emotional about it, man. Out of all the people that I've interviewed, he's the one guy that I never had an opportunity to see or speak to, but from afar, just admired. Because of the way he carried himself, at this stage of his life. And this is just such a tragedy, man.
Indeed. A big fan myself, so certainly understand. I was shook as well. Remind us of his career.
Man, you know what? Kobe, when Kobe came around, it was like, all right, is he the next Jordan? Obviously, they're doing the same thing to LeBron. But here's a guy whose work ethic was unmatched. They did a commercial a while back that showed all the things that he was doing to just try to get an edge on everyone else, man. They called him the Black Mamba for a reason. When he got the ball in his hands, you knew something spectacular was about to happen, and he could do it any way you want to do it. He could take it to the rim. He could shoot the three-pointer. He was just unstoppable. He worked at it. He worked meticulously at his game. He could shoot from anywhere on the court. I just marveled at the way that he played. And honestly, man, throughout I'm a baller, man. I like to play basketball. It was my sport when I was a kid, that in football. And I wanted to try to model my game first after Dr. J, Julius Erving, Dr. J, and then Michael Jordan, of course. But then when Kobe came around, it was like he reminds me of somebody that I would want to be. Of course, my skills weren't anywhere near what his skills were. But the way that he played the game when he had the ball, man, it was like, you're not going to stop me. I'm going to the rim. I'm going to shoot. It was just, he could perform at will. And it was just a marvel to watch.
Indeed, indeed. We mentioned earlier that Kobe Bryant was Catholic. What can you share about his faith and his family?
Well, we know that when, obviously when he was, going through some things personally, his faith would come up. He would mention the fact that, he was Catholic, his family was Catholic. So he had some rooting there. I don't know how deep that goes, but he did talk about, having that foundation in his Catholic faith. And that is something that he wanted to make sure that his wife and kids, practiced as well. And he was vocal about that. And so there was definitely some foundation there.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Sean Brown, thank you so much for your insights and taking the time to be with us today. Much appreciated.
You got it, man. The best thing I can do, man, is just continue to pray for his family, man, because all of us who are fans are rocked. And so my prayers go out to his wife, his children, and then the rest of the Bryant family.
Indeed. Unimaginable grief. Thank you so much, Sean. I want to turn now to Washington. At the Senate impeachment trial, the president's attorneys continue his defense today. Democrats are hoping that an upcoming book by former National Security Advisor John Bolton will contradict President Trump's defense team's arguments. Adele Hurd is on the story.
The stakes over witness testimony at President Trump's impeachment trial just got higher with the leak of a new book by former National Security Advisor John Bolton that appears to undercut a key defense argument. In The Room Where It Happened, a White House memoir, Bolton reportedly writes that President Trump wanted to continue freezing $391 million in security assistance to Ukraine until officials there helped with investigations into Democrats, including the Bidens. But Deputy White House counsel Michael Purpura asked, how could there have been a quid pro quo with Ukraine when the Ukrainians were not even aware that the security assistance was paused?
There can't be a threat without the person knowing he's being threatened. There can't be a quid pro quo without the quo.
President Trump flatly denied the new report, tweeting, I never told John Bolton that the aid to Ukraine was tied to investigations into Democrats, including the Bidens. Saturday, President Trump's lawyers delivered opening statements in the impeachment trial.
We intend to show over the next several days that the evidence is actually really overwhelming, that the president did nothing wrong.
And as for the charge of obstruction of Congress, White House Deputy Counsel Patrick Philbin said the subpoenas issued by Adam Schiff's committees were invalid because they were not authorized by the full House.
Because under long-settled precedent, there had to be a vote from the House to give authority, and the administration would not respond to subpoenas that were invalid.
Meanwhile, President Trump lashed out at House impeachment manager Adam Schiff, tweeting, Shifty Adam Schiff is a corrupt politician and probably a very sick man. He has not paid the price yet for what he has done to our country. Schiff called the tweet a threat.
This is a wrathful and vindictive president. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
You take that as a threat?
I think it's intended to be.
John Bolton has said he will testify if subpoenaed by the Senate. Democrats say reports about his new book show that Bolton must testify. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
The death toll now stands at 80 for the coronavirus, and the U.S. consulate in China is evacuating its personnel and some other Americans. China's health minister says the country is entering a crucial stage as the virus appears to be getting stronger and spreading faster. China's leaders hope travel restrictions and other measures will help to slow it down during the nation's busiest travel season for the Lunar New Year. The epidemic has revived memories of the SARS outbreak that originated in China and killed nearly 800 people worldwide in 2002 and 2003. Today is International Holocaust Remembrance Day as world leaders mark the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. As CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl reports, this historic gathering comes against the backdrop of rising anti-Semitism.
They called it Remembering the Holocaust, Fighting Anti-Semitism.
The Jewish people have learned the lessons of the Holocaust, always to take seriously the threats of those who seek our destruction, to confront threats when they are small, and above all, even though we deeply, deeply appreciate the great support of our friends, to always have the power to defend ourselves by ourselves.
Resulting in the largest diplomatic event in Israel's history, leaders including Britain's Prince Charles, U.S. Vice President Mike Pence, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier came to Jerusalem to say, never again.
We must be prepared to confront and expose the vile tide of anti-Semitism that is fueling hate and violence all across the world, and we must stand together.
The spirits of evil are emerging in a new guise, presenting their anti-Semitic, racist, authoritarian thinking as an answer for the future, a new solution to the problems of our age. And I wish I could say that we Germans have learned from history once and for all. But I cannot say that when hatred is spreading.
Ahead of the event, a special European delegation visited the site where Nazis perpetrated so much evil and hatred. The leaders brought the delegation here to Auschwitz to emphasize the fact of what happens when anti-Semitism goes unchecked. Born in Poland, former Israeli Chief Rabbi Israel Meir Lau is a Holocaust survivor.
Anti-Semitism is something you can explain, but you cannot find a reason for it. It's against dialogue. It's against logic. It's a spiritual madness.
Before the Red Army liberated the largest Nazi death camp 75 years ago, Nazis murdered an estimated 1.1 million Jews at Auschwitz-Birkenau.
Combating anti-Semitism is not only a question of politics and statements and whatever comes out in the media, but it's an actual fight for our safety in Europe.
Rabbi Shlomo Kovesh said the Jewish people need a plan to fight anti-Semitism and what he called mutations of this virus.
And we have to partner with those politicians, opinion leaders, public figures that are ready to partner with us in our war against anti-Semitism. It's a war of minds, it's a war of ideas, and we need a lot of partners for this war. And we have to look at it as a war.
Rabbi Menachem Margolin made clear their goal must be to put action behind the words, never again.
To really measure the success, we'll need to follow up and see how many of those MEPs will sign and promote the draft legislation we presented yesterday to ensure that children in Europe will get more education, that the trade of Nazi memorabilia will be banned, and the use of any anti-Semitic stereotypes will be banned.
And banning anti-Semitism isn't just good for the Jewish people.
God told Abraham that I will bless whoever blesses you and curse whoever curses you. And we see that throughout our history of human civilization, that whoever persecuted the Jews later on was devastated and destructive.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem and Auschwitz, Poland.
Coming up, it was an historic March for Life in Washington with President Donald Trump attending and speaking what he told the pro-life marchers. When we come back, stay with us.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug-of-war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
It's what starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
President Trump was the first president ever to attend the March for Life in person, and he spoke to the crowd about their stand for life. Here's CBN's Paul Strand.
Presidents for years have sent taped messages to the March for Life, but this year at this March for Life, Donald Trump showed up in the flesh.
Every child brings joy to a family. Every person is worth protecting. And above all, we know that every human soul is divine and every human life, born and unborn, is made in the holy image of Almighty God.
So why do 100,000 people or more show up at these marches for life? Because 62 million babies have died by abortion, a number almost too big to conceive of. Well, there's a graphic that shows 19 states shaded. If every person in those states was suddenly killed, that would equal those 62 million babies dead by abortion. Sarah Gorman could have been among that number had her parents listened to doctors.
When my mom was pregnant with me, they said I was supposed to be born with a mental disability and that she should abort me. And one thing she always remarks on is the pressure they put on her to have an abortion. My father and my mother said, no, we're not going to have an abortion, we're going to have Sarah because God created her to be exactly who she's supposed to be. And if she is supposed to be born with a mental disability, then that's God's plan and we're going to accept that.
And as you can see, Sarah's fine, going to Father Dave Pavanka's Franciscan University.
Every child that is conceived is unlike any other. Those who are most vulnerable, the child within the mother's womb. What does it say to a society that says that that's disposable, or because the child is inconvenient, that that baby can be aborted?
David B. Wright, founder of the 40 Days for Life movement, says abortion feeds a dark, deadly side of our culture.
We are a more violent and angry society than we ever have been. I would say that this culture of death, which has spread across our land for these 47 years since Roe versus Wade, has led to a lot of that toxicity, that caustic nature, and also we're a culture that embraces violence as a so-called solution to a problem.
Brandy Swindell, a prominent pro-life leader, says abortion goes against the very nature of who women are.
So women were never designed to kill our offspring. It's not who we were created to be. It's not what we were designed to do.
And so these multitudes march for the women and for their babies.
We're not going to give up this fight. The human life has value. It's sacred. It should be respected. And those most vulnerable, I mean, the child within the mother's womb is most vulnerable. And if we don't speak for them, who's going to?
Think about the unborn. Each one has characteristics like fingerprints and DNA that makes them different from every other person that's ever been. And new science now shows us they can feel pain as young as 14 weeks. These aren't just unfeeling blobs of tissue. They're unique creations of God, each and every one. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from the March for Life.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
And ministering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Here's a headline you might not expect to see. Drag queen warns parents in surprisingly honest rebuke, extremely irresponsible to involve children in drag. It's a story getting attention. On FaithWire.com, our George Thomas spoke with FaithWire's Dan Andros about the warning.
Dan, this warning is definitely a surprise. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, it's a surprise, George, because it comes from such an unlikely source. It's actually a criticism that comes from an actual drag queen as opposed to someone from outside the community looking in, which is usually the case.
And this person actually says promoting drag isn't doing the gay community any favors.
Yeah, that's right. For years, people have sort of raised concerns about the level of pedophilia activity that goes on within the drag queen community. And so the latest PR push that we're seeing is not only just a push for acceptance and tolerance, so to speak, of drag queens in regards to the LGBT movement, but it also has just been pushing, as we've seen, in heavily with children. They've been going after libraries and trying to get into there for the library children's story hours. We've seen drag queens visiting schools and these sorts of things. And this drag queen is saying that that doesn't do them any favors with this stigma they already have of being accused of being pedophiles or having that interest, you know, embedded in their community. And so this one is saying, like, that's just trying to go too far with the woke community, and it's actually backfiring.
What do we know about the danger of exposing children to these alternative lifestyles?
You know, I think aside from the obvious dangers of gender confusion and sort of leading them outside of a lifestyle that would be of what God has designed in the first place, this drag queen talked about the rampant hypersexuality and sexual behavior that's going on in the drag queen community and on these drag shows, and talked about the drugs, the sex, and all of that stuff going on, and made the analogy that, you know, would you want your kid being influenced by that? Would you want your kid being influenced by a stripper or a porn star? And so why would you therefore want this?
What do you see playing out in our culture with this particular issue?
Yeah, well, I think the pendulum's kind of got to swing back at some point. You would think that the pendulum of all of this pushing and you know, looking for acceptance in all these different kind of relationships. You know, we see the slogan, love is love. And how does that manifest itself? And really what it's done is give a green light for people to just say everything is okay. So I think at some point we're going to see someone have to put their foot down and say, well, no, this is where we draw the line. Haven't seen that yet, so only can hope and pray that maybe this pendulum starts to swing back in the other direction as more and more things are trying to be kind of pushed on us as acceptable behaviors.
Yeah. Speaking of our culture, what's up on the next Faith versus Culture?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about Aaron Rodgers and his comments that he made when he opened up and was very honest about why he left the faith. And he talked about wanting to find something that he wanted to believe in. And so we're going to talk about why theology matters as it pertains to Aaron's comments on the episode of Faith versus Culture coming up.
Terrific, Dan. As always, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And you can catch Faith versus Culture tonight on the CBN News Channel. It begins at 9:30 Eastern. Be sure to tune in. Stay with us.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
An Iowa woman is being honored for her tremendous commitment to care and compassion after fostering a staggering 600 children. Linda Herring and her husband Bob have been providing a stable family home to children for the past part of 5 decades, having started taking people in while living in Oxford, Iowa. She told reporters her best friend was doing foster care for teenage girls, and she thought it would be nice to do the same. But she wanted little children and arranged with the Department of Human Services to take children with medical needs. Herring didn't stop at fostering. She also volunteered as a first responder for nearly half a century. Time now for your Monday motivation. I'll leave you with this thought as we begin a new work week. When facing difficulty, know this: even when it does not feel good, God is working it out for my good, and in doing so, He gets the glory. Bottom line, it's for my good, and it is for His glory. With that word, make today a marvelous Monday and push for a wonderful week. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember, you can find more of our CBN News programs on the CBN News channel at any time. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. Email us. The address is newswatch@cbn.com. And, of course, you can reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Certainly hope you'll join us again right here next time. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody, and God bless.